All right. Well, we're back for another week of CloudFormation fun, and I was deploying the templates, and you'll notice we have an error. And I remember this now. We were messing around with the logic of where different pieces of these templates would sit. So I'm not actually passing in the stack information from the transit gateway into either of the two VPCs that we're going to deploy. So if you remember, we have, I think we called it a marketing VPC and a finance VPC or something like that. So we've got to fix this, but I've got to kind of remember where we left off. So what I did is we've got our IAM resources. So we've got our flow log role and our policy. And then we've got our log group that we'll use with the transit gateway. And then we have the transit gateway. And now we got to go back and we got to figure out what we changed here before we ended our last session. So IAM, CloudWatch logs, transit gateway, all working. What we need to figure out now is what did we do to this prior to ending our last session. So I thought what we could do is jump into the VPC template and just have a peek at what we did. So these are all standard. Private subnets. Yeah, I think what we did was, oh, these are the outputs. So route tables, these are all our associations. I think we started down the path of creating the transit gateway attachments in the template, in the VPC template. And then we decided not to do it. So let's see, do we have any reference to the transit gateway here at all? Okay, so here's the stack reference, right? And we also have, okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll remove this. And see, we started doing this, and then right at the end of the stream, I think we removed all of this. So if we go back here and we just get rid of these for the time, actually, does it matter? I think we can leave those because the idea was maybe, because I think I talked about the fact that Amazon now recommends for the transit gateway, you create very small subnets, like a /28 gives us about 11 IPs. And then when we attach the transit gateway, we attach them to essentially purpose-built subnets for the transit gateways. And the idea is that if we ever had NACLs, network access control lists, on any of the other subnets, it wouldn't affect the ability for traffic to flow to the transit gateway. I don't think this will matter, right? And I think I put this as a placeholder because I didn't want to do the math, if you remember. So we're just going to leave this alone. And I think what we'll do is, what did I change? I just changed the VPC reference. So let's just do this. We'll say, it's amazing. You go back to this a week later and you're kind of like, I wonder what we did. I don't recall at all. So let's go here. The last time I deployed this just before I started the stream, it failed. And it failed because the VPC template was expecting to see the stack information for the transit gateway because I had added that as a parameter and then decided not to use it. So let's see if this completes successfully. And if it does, we'll deploy our two VPCs so that's set up like we wanted to. Yeah, okay, so that's good. And then we should go back here and we'll probably see, there's our two VPC stacks. Okay, so let's just deploy both of these. And since they're based off the same template, if one works, they should both work. So that should be okay. Because I remember last week we had these running without any problem. So that should be okay. We'll just give it a second here. Yeah, here comes the bulk of it here. If it was going to fail, it'd probably fail right away. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So that kind of gets us back to where we were in the last stream. So now the question is, try to figure out how to organize this. I don't like how we did this last week. You know, we have modules, networking, we have a transit gateway module or transit gateway template. And all this is doing right now is deploying the actual transit gateway and then the flow log for the transit gateway. Okay. And then what we need to do is attach each of our two new VPCs to the transit gateway. And that's where we left it off, because last week, I think we started on this because what I originally did was included the transit gateway attachment in the VPC template. And we set a condition that said, if this is attached to transit gateway, then deploy this. I think what we should do is just see if we can get this to work. Just do the attachment first, because what I would like to do is create a single attachment template and we pass in different parameters, basically our stack and our transit gateway, and see if we can, what we have to do is basically create an attachment, a route table, because I want unique route tables for each of our attachments. So we have that sort of granular control of how the traffic flows. And then, so we've got attachment, route table associated to the attachment. Yeah. So attachment, route table association is what we're doing. Maybe let's see if we can do this all in one shot. So let me grab, just got to find the documentation again for the transit gateway attachment. Okay, so this is what we've built already, right? And then we want to create a route table. Oh, that's easy. It's a transit gateway ID and a tag. That's it. Okay, so let's do this. So it's route table. Okay, we'll do the standard depends on. This depends on the attachment, right? Does it depend on the attachment? It does not. It depends on the transit gateway, which we're deploying somewhere else anyways. So we can just do properties, and all it needs is this value, which I think is exactly the same. Yep, transit gateway ID. And then our tags, which we'll just do the same thing here. Stack name, and in this case, we'll just call it RT transit gateway. Works for me. There's our route table. And then what we need to do is we need to associate the route table with the transit gateway attachment. So this is the next piece. So again, that's pretty easy. So we'll just say route, oops, change this, route table association. And I'm definitely not going to type this because I will not type it successfully. And then we're going to go depends on. And in this case, we need both our attachment and the route table before we can relate these two things together. Easy, in theory. So all we need for this is a reference here. I'm just going to put this because we're going to look up what it actually is expecting. Well, it's expecting the ID, but I don't know what the previous, what's going on here? I need to look up the return values for both the route table and the route table, or the transit gateway attachment first. So let's just have a quick look at that. So route table, return value. So it only has one return value, so it's just a ref. That's easy. And then the other one is an attachment. Both. When you pass the logical ID, it returns the ID. So yeah, we'll just use ref for both of these. That's easy. So we can just do this. Ref, that's what? The gateway attachment? this. And then, not that, the route table. Now I know we won't have any routes or anything like that, but that's okay. So let's finish this, and that means that we have to update our CI script. Oh, I think I'm having the same problem that we were having last time, where the screen freezes. How did I fix this last time? I think all I did was, I didn't have an opportunity this week to check this. That's a bit of a pain. There you go. So we want to take, we're just running our simple validation script. So it's networking tgw / attach. So that's our validation. And then what we can do is, here's our two VPC templates. We can do the same thing. We can go like this. I'm just gonna do oops. So we'll call this Twitch Finance, right? And then all we need here are two stack templates to pass in. Oh, hey Kevin, how's it going? Says the guy who's just watching. Yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know. Yeah, it's weird, eh? The freezing thing. I meant to look, and I've been busy and kind of forgot about it. So we need TGW. Forget already what the stacks are. Okay, so we need the VPC stack and the TGW stacks. We'll just go like this. And that is, what did we call that? Oh, this we're going to need to refer to the appropriate VPC stack. So it's finance, right? And then we need TGW stack. I'll keep watching the screen to make sure that it's not locked up. And then this is just TGW or Twitch TGW. So we can dump that here. It needs job, deploy TGW, and then job, deploy. Deploy finance VPC. And then I'm just going to borrow from here. Networking, TGW attach. Hey, you know what, Kevin? As I was doing this, I meant to ask you the other day and I forgot. How'd the bees work out for the year? I think that's all we need to do. I think I'll just go like this. And then we can say marketing. This becomes marketing. Marketing. And the rest of it, so this here needs to be marketing as well. Worth a shot. Let's see what happens. We're here. Yeah, it's, you know, it's funny. Both screens now are locked. So it's like as soon as one messes up, they both mess up. I looked today, I did look to see if there was any more patches or anything available for this. And there was not, so I'm kind of stuck. Did just okay, I learned a lot, but yeah, it's hard to know, right? Oh yeah, good, yeah. Deploy finance attachment, undefined job, need deploy. Oops. Oh, yeah, bad cut and paste. I did it twice. Deploy. There is no deploy. I'm gonna do this. There we go. And let's try that again. Did you manage to take any honey, or did you just leave it all with them to give them a better chance over the winter? I was going to say over the holidays, over the winter. Failed again. Template format error, unresolved dependencies, owner. Oh, I was a little too owner email. Did I miss? Oh yeah, look what I did. I didn't add the values for our tags, which I could just borrow from here, right? Because they have default values anyways, so I just need to go like that. Another failure. Must not depend on any resources. Okay, so that usually means that I forgot to pass in. See VPC stack, TGW stack. Oh, look, typo. Not VP stack, VPC stack. TGW stack. Okay, let's try that. We got 1 week of less typos. I don't know, if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel right without the typos. You gotta have the typos. You took some nervous about picking too much. Yeah. You never know. We got our first snow today. Woke up this morning, snow on the ground, and it's still here. I don't know what the forecast is supposed to be like, but I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't stick around. It's too early to have snow on the ground, but anyways. Okay, there we go. Fixed our typo. You've got about 8 centimeters. Oh no, we don't have nearly that much. We've got like just enough to cover the grass, and it melted all off of the road and everything this morning. Although I'm looking at the echo here, and it does say they're calling for more snow overnight. I don't know how much we're supposed to get. Lake effect, yeah. All right, so that all deployed. There's our attachments. Let's go over here. And I'll just deploy one of these for now because they're based off the same template again. In theory, if one works, the other one should. But since it's our first deploy, let's see what it does. Bah, there we go. No export name, Twitch, Finance, VPC, public subnet 0. Why would it want... Oh, that's another user error. I didn't change our templates. So let's hear Twitch, Finance, VPC. So here's this. This is the output, right? Twitch, Finance, VPC. Our outputs. Yeah, we didn't output the public. So I just copied that. If you remember from last week, I just copied it over and obviously didn't change it. So see these? These need to be... This is where I'd like to have those small subnets, but we'll just do private subnet 0 for now. Like that. That's what it should be. Okay. And I'll just delete our failed Twitch attachment. Let's delete that. Okay, and we'll just change this. I'll figure out the cider math for next week. Go back over here now. We'll wait till we should get a new change record or change set. Now there's no, just so everybody's clear on it, there's no public subnets because of the configuration or the parameter that we passed into the templates where we said is public, yes or no. So when we said no, all we deploy are private and protected subnets. And I just didn't update the VPC stack reference. That's why that happened. Okay, so there's our recreated finance attachments. So let's re-execute this one. Okay, didn't fail immediately. So there's our route table coming in. There's the attachment. Route table. Wow, this takes a while. I'm gonna just fire up this one too. I'm feeling confident. Famous last words, right? Let's do that. I'm sort of half surprised that I didn't come back to the first template and it just immediately fail after I said, oh, I'm feeling confident. Well, we'll let that run for a bit. In the meantime, we can go over to VPC, Transit Gateway attachments. So there are two attachments, right? One's available, one's pending. We named them Twitch Finance TGW attachment attach. So yeah, we can clean that up later. That's going to drive me crazy, but it'll do the trick for now. Attachment attach. I guess this is the stack name, and I put attach in there, which we don't need. The hardest thing is coming up with good names. So there's our transit gateway. There's our attachment. And we have 3 route tables. So remember, this is the default route table that we're not going to use. So if we look at this, that's associated now to an attachment. This is our attachment ID, which is associated to the VPC that ends in 3B7. And this one is still working on it. Which one is this? Marketing? Oh, there we go. Success. Right, so there we go, it's associating. So the other thing that we need to do is if we just work left to right, let's go to this one since it's up. So there's just our detail page. It's associated with the VPC. We have no propagations. So I'll show you this. What we could do is we could say create a propagation and propagate it to, I already forget what we were looking at here. Hold on. This is associated to the VPC 3B7. I always forget about the propagations. So the propagations would basically help us propagate routes. Okay. So the question is, do we want the finance VPC to be able to see the marketing VPC, vice versa? Let's see what this does. So we can say propagate finance. And what should happen is there's our routes, right? So now we know how to get to the finance VPC. And we could do the same idea and say propagate the marketing one. And what that's going to do is create those 2 routes. So now this attachment knows how to get to the finance VPC and the marketing VPC. And we could do, in theory, the same thing over here. Right? Propagate the finance and propagate the marketing, which would do that. Okay, we're going to put this in code, but I wanted to see how that worked. So this now basically tells us how to get to the 2 VPCs that we already have. Okay. The question then is, I think we should leave it like that for now. So let's figure out the propagations. We can delete these propagations and then redo it in code. So what we have to do now is do route table propagation. So all we need is the transit gateway attachment and the transit gateway route table. That's it. And that'll propagate the routes. This will be interesting though, because what we have here is we might have to put the propagation. See, this is weird because now we can't put the propagation in the attachments because we need those attachments up and running first before we can do any route propagation. So these are our attachments, and then we could just create something new here and call it propagation. And okay. And we'll just do the same thing. We can grab all this and we can drop that here. This seems like I'm still not convinced this is the right way to do it, because now we're going to end up with a lot of stacks to get this done. But it also doesn't feel right to put it all in one template either. Well, let's continue on. We'll see what it kind of looks like at the end. So creating these are pretty simple as well. So we're going to say propagation. Yeah, this is a little harder to do because we really need a propagation for each VPC. So what we could do is go like this. We could call this like VPC. Let's do this. Finance VPC propagation. Right, and then just grab that. And we need sorry, I got my windows messed up here. So we need transit gateway attachment ID. And then we need transit gateway route table ID. We'll fill both of these in because we've got to go back and set all this up. So what we could do is we could create a single propagation template, and we could do something like this. So this is the marketing VPC propagation. Okay. All right, so that means we need route tables and attachment outputs in this, right? Because there's our attachment, our route table association. Yeah, I think this is the only way we can do this. So what we need now is I need to find, I think we just said it's just a ref. Okay, so we'll do this. This is what TGW attachment ID. It's just ref TGW attachment ID. The export is going to be, we've done this a bunch of times, but I already forget. So let's just borrow this off of here. So our stack name, let's think about this because we ended up with attach, right? So let's go have a look at the stack name first. So the stack name will actually be Twitch Marketing TGW Attachment. And we can just call this then ID. Right? And then here we can say route table ID, and this is value. And we'll just call this table ID. Okay, that works. Okay, so that's fine. So then that means over here, we don't need the VPC stack. What we need is the TGW attachment stack. And we can just borrow from here. So this becomes dash ID. And that becomes table ID, which, yeah, I could just do this, right? There we go. So then we can go here, shrink these down. Twitch Marketing TGW. And all we need is, what did we call that stack? It's a long name, but it'll work. TGW attachment stack would be this. And in this case, it relies on this job as well. Right? That's it. Problem. We can't actually pass in just a generic attachment stack like this, because you'll see here we're passing the same stack in, so we need I almost wonder if it makes more sense to like do something like this. So we know here that we've got, I was trying to keep this, like more modular, but I think I'm breaking it down too much. So what if we did, like, wonder if we did something like this. So we could say transit gateway attachments, and we do marketing VPC, right? And then we do finance VPC, and then we're going to have an internet VPC at some point, right? So if we basically created, it feels like we're duplicating stuff here though. I like the small template because then I can say if I add a new VPC, I could simply just say pass in the VPC information. I think I'm going to leave it like this. Okay. That means though that we have to change how we're doing this. So we really need marketing attachment stack. We're going to need to pass in each of the stacks, like this, right? So then this is like that. See what I mean? That. So we got to pass both of these stack names in, which is then like that. And then right? Something like that. And then we got to do this twice because we want to propagate the routes. So we'd need a propagation for each of the VPCs. So right now we've got not a farketing. That's where finance and marketing work together. Oops, no, I don't need to change that. And then this relies on that and that. Right? Guess really it's going to rely on all of these jobs like this. Okay. Ooh, it's starting to get a little complicated now. Let's see what this does. Oh, before I do this though, oh, it's been, no, okay, good, it's still moving. I've got to go back over here and I have to remove the propagations that we did. Because otherwise it'll basically say they're there already. So we got to delete those propagations, which will clear our routes eventually. And then we got to go over here and do the same thing. Right? There we go. So no routes there, no routes here. Okay, so then let's deploy this and see what it does. Remember too, before I actually deploy the new propagations, I have to run the change sets on the, what's it called? On the attachments, because we had to add those outputs, right, to use them in the other template. Ah, typo somewhere. When calling validate template, unresolved dependencies, TGW attachment ID in the output block. So it's complaining about the attach template. It's not working again. So what did the error message say? Unresolved dependencies, transit gateway. Oh, yeah, this here. I put transit gateway there. I put an ID at the end, so we don't have that. It's getting a little more complicated now, eh? Okay, so those attachments are gone or updated. So that means back here, we should have a change set. Change set will look empty because we're just adding outputs, but we can run these two things. Because to do our propagations, we're going to need this. And those should just run immediately. Right, so now we should have outputs. Route table ID, transit gateway ID, and then there's that. And then we can go here, and this should add our two propagations. There's our one propagation. It's not failing immediately, so let's push our luck here and do this one as well. I know even when we did this manually, it took a little bit of time, right? Marketing propagations. Okay, there it is, right? And there's the route. Perfect. That one's done. Oh, why didn't that work? Oh, I've got. What did I do wrong? Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's weird. Propagation transit gateway already exists. Duplicate. There's our finance propagation, our marketing propagation, and there's our finance propagation. This one failed. Propagation. I must have passed something in incorrectly. So did this change here? We've got one propagation. Let me just check. So the finance VPC ends in B7, the marketing one ends in 3A. So here's our attachment, there's our route table. I already forget, hold on. Okay, so it added a propagation to itself. I think I have something getting passed in. I think I have something crossed in my templates. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete that one, obviously. And then we're going to delete this one. And then let's go back and look at our template here. I see what I did. So what we're doing here is, see, we're attaching the transit gateway attachment ID should be okay. So this is confusing because what we're doing is we're saying talk to the marketing transit gateway attachment and propagate routes to the marketing VPC and the finance VPC. But see what we've done here? We've said, okay, it's associate the finance stack with the finance route table, associate the marketing stack with the marketing route table, and we ran this twice. So yeah, we have duplicate routes. So how do we do this then? I think what we need to do is we almost need to do something like calling this the marketing and finance doesn't really make sense. It's almost like we need to say the source attachment stack. And in this case, we would need, oh, this is weird. There's got to be a better way to do this. So what I was thinking is like, this is like that. So then we associate the route table. Am I doing this backwards again? Let's go and have a look here. Yeah, so we want the same route table. Yeah, I did that backwards. We want the same route table. I tell you what. Let's do this. Give me a second. Just gonna get a whiteboard. I think might make it a little more clear. Maybe I'm hoping. Okay. Oh, frozen again. So here's what we have. We have, this is our transit gateway, right? And then we have VPCs. We have the marketing VPC. And we have the finance VPC. And we've created attachments. So this is our attachment. And this is our attachment. Oops. Right? Look like this. Okay. And then each of these attachments has a route table. So that's kind of like that. Can I make that solid? So right, so we have the two route tables. And what we need to do in the route table is basically propagate the routes to each of these environments. So finance. So what we're doing is we're taking the same route table ID for each of these and associating it with a particular attachment. Yeah, so I did this backwards, right? So then what I need to do here is, let's undo what I did. This, because we're updating a single route table and associating or propagating routes from the other attachments. I think this is what we want to do. And then we need, oh man, I do not like this. Can you imagine, like, even a week later, you try to come back and remember what you did? what makes it more confusing is that, so maybe we should call this route table stack. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to wrap your head around how this will. Oh, sorry, didn't change my screen, did I? I'm sitting here staring at this, wondering why it doesn't work. So we create our attachment. That's done. And then what we need to do is propagate the routes from each of our VPCs, which eventually we're going to have 3 because we're going to have the internet VPC here eventually. We could simplify all of this by just using the default route table, but that doesn't also feel right. It feels like a bit of a cop-out to do that. So we got to wrap our heads around this. So let's have a look at the CI script. Let's just close all these just to make this easier to look at. Okay, so we've got our finance attachment. Great. And then our marketing attachment. And you can envision at some point here, we're going to have right. So I guess in theory, we would also have up here because we're going to centralize all the internet traffic through that particular VPC. So what we're doing is in this. So we could call this well, the names don't not make sense. Okay. Right? We're talking about the marketing stack and the finance stack. So that makes sense. It's how we have them set here. Yeah, but when we're okay, so this is the problem, right? Because we're using just a single propagation template and we want to use the same template across each of our VPC attach or of transit gateway attachments. This is what makes it challenging. Like I almost wonder in this particular situation if it would make more sense to create individual stacks for each of the attachments. So like what I'm thinking is under here we do, and then we have right, we end up with something like this. And then eventually, okay. And then you could take this here. Which actually makes sense again, because what if we didn't want all of the propagations? Because if what we're doing here is we're essentially propagating all of the routes to all of the attachments to every route table, or sorry, all of the routes to every attachment, which we could just do that with the default route table. Why do it like this? So yeah, we might end up in a situation where the finance attachment has different route propagations than the marketing attachment versus the internet attachment. So maybe this makes sense to do it this way instead. Let's try it. So we can do this. our descriptions are wrong anyways, right? So we'll do right? That's really what we're doing. And then we can stay here. We can say, yeah, this maybe makes more sense like this now. So let me get logged back in here. We got logged out. Let's see if this works. So if we flip back over here, okay, so both of these should be, sorry, the route tables, right? Associated to each of their own VPCs. Okay. Okay, so so there's our tag parameters, and so route propagation for the finance route table. So what we need then is we need to pass in, this is okay. I think this is all right. I think it makes more sense. So this looks like this, and then that's, well, like that, right? Because we've got a single finance route table ID that we want to associate both the finance attachments and the marketing attachments with. Yeah. Okay, well, let's try this. So let's do this. We'll delete this guy. Don't need it. Go away. And then we can go here. TGW propagation / finance. We'll do one at a time. And then we'll just delete this to keep it simple. And this wouldn't change then, I don't think. Because we didn't change the names in the actual, I've got too many things open here. Right? We passed in marketing and finance attachment stack. Okay, so let's try this. Let's make sure that did I update this? I did not. So this is propagations / finance. We still need that. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, I find this really confusing. This is there's got to be a better way to create these. I'll do some more reading after the fact, but it feels convoluted and confusing the way I've got it set up. But what should happen here is if I've got that correct, then we would have too many terms here, right? So we create our VPC, we attach it to the transit gateway, and then we associate a route table with that attachment. And then we're going to propagate both VPCs into the route table so that we know how to get to, in our example here, marketing knows how to get to finance, and finance will know how to get to marketing. I think that's ultimately what we're going to do. Oh, look at, I've got a lot. Oh, okay. No, that's fine. I'm reading that as like it's trying to deploy the same logical ID twice, but that's review and create. There we go. Marketing should also pop in here. There we go. Those two are two routes. Okay, perfect. And now that means if we go back over here, we could then do this and say marketing. All of this is the same. This becomes marketing. And then we can simply take this guy, route propagation for the marketing, and what would happen is like that. Okay. Right, and then there's that. Still not completely straight in my head, but let's see what happens. So what in theory should happen is if this propagation works, then that means we have a route from the marketing VPC to the finance VPC, and from the finance VPC back to the marketing VPC. That's what we're doing. And vice versa, right? So finance can get to marketing and back, and marketing can get to finance and back. All right. So there's our marketing route propagations now. Let's see what this does. Oh, that was easy. There we go. And then over here, associated with the VPC, propagating both the routes, and there we go. All right. So now we are missing one thing. Each of our VPCs, we need to update the route tables. So if we go and look at, like, doesn't matter, the finance VPC, right? And then we look at the private route tables. Right now, they only have a local route. So what we need to do is we need to say here in this configuration, we need to say, really, if you're trying to go anywhere other than the local route, you need to go talk to the transit gateway. That's what we need. And this is, I think, where we could use that another condition that says, is this VPC connected to the transit gateway or to a transit gateway? If that condition is yes, then we add an any route on the two private subnets that go to the transit gateway. So let's see if we can figure that out, because once we do that, then in theory, anything in the private subnet can be routed through the transit gateway, or sorry, I should say it this way. Anything in the finance private subnets should be able to route through the transit gateway to anything in the marketing private subnets. That's in theory what should happen. So let's go back over here. And what we need to do is look at this, right? And then what we need, let's just shrink all of this down. I wish I could remember the shortcut for this. So see, those are our route table associations. And see here, these are our actual routes. And what we have right now is we have, if it's public, add the any route to point to the NAT gateway. And what we want here is we basically have to say, if it isn't public, we want to route the 0 route to the transit gateway. So maybe we don't even have to say, is it transit gateway connected? So we could do this instead. We could just say, is it not equals? I'm gonna have to look this up, but we could do this, right? Let's look up, how do we do a not? I don't even know if you can do a not now that I think about it in a condition. You have to be able to. Okay, so there's not. Do they give us a not equals? They don't. You just get one example. You can figure the other stuff out. Maybe here. So not. Okay, so we just say not. Not, then I want to say, if it's not, yes, right? Why did I make that so hard? If it's... Wow. I think I'm a little tired tonight. I think my brain is not working. So couldn't I just do the same thing? I could say equals no. That been... If is public is no, then it's not public, right? And then I could take this, is public, not public, and we could go down to the little route table thing that we had down here. And we could simply do... Right? Am I thinking about that right? I think I am. We could say private route 2 and private route 3. And this only happens if it is not public, right? It doesn't rely on this. But we do need to say TGW ID here, which I don't think we have any reference to right now. So here's our conditions, condition parameters, tag parameters. Yeah, we're not passing anything in here, so we could do this. Let's go stack parameters. Whoa. Okay. And we need to get the output from here. And it's just ID. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to find... I need one of these functions here. I can never remember these. So what we could do is go back here. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Private is public. And then we'll go, so let's do it this way. Private. All right, so if it is a public VPC, this is the route we want to use. And then if it's a not public, and then we want to go like this. Oh man. I think this also changes. I think we have to call this a transit gateway ID. So let's look that up and see. Oh, sorry, I didn't change the screen again. Look what I've done. Basically, I just created up a new condition here for this. Sorry. I almost liked the old way of doing this where I had like half and half screen. It was less for me to think about. So if we go back over here now, what you were looking at as I was typing, I need to know, what are we looking for? EC2 route. Is it route? Yeah, it's route. Yeah, so here we just need transit gateway ID. Okay, so we can go back over here and we just change this to transit gateway ID. Like that. Okay. So now what we're saying is if you're trying to go anywhere and you are in a not public VPC, the default route will point to the transit gateway. That's all this does. Ah. Oh, I know what we did. We didn't pass in the transit gateway stack. See this? TGW stack must have values. Yeah. So let's go back over here and we got to change our CI script as well. These are all of our transit gateway bits and pieces. So here I need to say TGW stack is, what did we call it? Twitch TGW. Right, and then you can pass it in here like this. Right. Let's see what this does. There we go. So if we, wrong screen again. Okay, so what I've got here is our VPC deploying. So that means if we go and find finance VPC, we should have this, and we're adding private routes. Okay. Because right now we just have the local route. Feeling pretty confident, so let's do both at the same time. Famous last words, right? There we go. There we go. So now if we go over here and we refresh and we look at private routes, now we're saying, hey, if you're trying to go anywhere other than the local VPC, oh, it's frozen again, man. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to try to figure this out. Here we go. This is what you should see. So now what I've done is I've updated the two private routes. Okay. And now we're saying if you're trying to go anywhere other than the VPC, go talk to the transit gateway. And that should be the same situation on both here. Yeah. Okay. So if you're not trying to get to the marketing VPC, go talk to the transit gateway. Now there's a way that we can really simply test this without having anything up and running. Like no, we don't need EC2 instances. So if we go down, I'm gonna see if we can code this up in the future. If we go to, I think it's Network Manager. Yeah, and we'll go get started. And we're going to create what we call a global network. And we'll just call this, okay, because I'm gonna see if, I think I mentioned this before. What I'm going to do is, I think we can code all this up in CloudFormation as well. So we won't worry about any of this for the time being. Really, oh. Huh. I don't want to create a core network. Then we can do this. There's just a setting that I want. Okay, so when this is now created, we can go in here. I don't really know what this will show, to be honest. Let's let it load up. I'm really after this transit gateway. Does it show anything? Nothing at this point. Oh, you know why? Oh, that was kind of neat. What did we get there? There's our global network. Okay, so if we go here, we can go to transit gateway. Now, we don't have a transit gateway associated to this yet, so we can register a transit gateway. We only have the one. Okay. So that'll be setting up. And then I just need a couple IP addresses. So if we go here, go to our VPC, and if we just go to this, what's the IP? Oh man, 1099.19. It's too bad we didn't use something simple here. So let's do this. I just need to know an IP address in that range. So we can go here. Grab this. So yeah, as long as we can do 1099.0.2. It's in that range, okay? So this is now available. And we can go to Route Analyzer. And what we can do here is we can say we want to go from the marketing VPC to the finance VPC. And then we just have to we can put whatever IP addresses we want on either side. And okay, so finance would be 1099.0.2, I think we said. So we can put that over here, 10.99.0.2. And then over here, I think it would be the same like this. Okay, beat you to the calculator. And then we can do route analysis. And this should show us, this would just at least do a really simple validation for us that we know how to go from the marketing environment to the finance environment through the transit gateway, if I've done this right. There we go, okay? So what it's showing us is that we have both a forward and return path. So we go from the marketing VPC through this particular route table. This is the destination attachment, so the finance attachment, and then what we're showing you is coming back from the finance to the marketing VPC. So at this point, we know that those two VPCs can see each other, and we could validate it in the other way if you really wanted to by just doing this. We're doing this already with the return path, but if you wanted to see it, right, this should do the exact same thing. There we go. Okay, so we know we have a good route. Now, since I have this set up, there we go. It's not very much fun to look at, but here's our transit gateway. And if we go to one of these diagrams now, this is pretty neat. So there's our transit gateway in CA Central 1, and you can see that now it's attached to two VPCs. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we are going to, what happens if you turn some of these on? It looks exactly the same. That's kind of neat though. We don't care about the region. You can imagine here if you had like, you know, more VPCs, VPN connections together, might look a little more interesting than what we have, but still pretty neat way to visualize your environment. Can you click on one of these? Oh yeah, you get some basic information over here, right? It's kind of neat. What's the difference of this one? So we get a graph and a topology tree. It's pretty neat. Okay. So now what I want to do is the two VPCs can see each other. So now we want to create an internet VPC. And the internet VPC will have NAC gateways that point to the outside world. Okay, so let's code that up. And that really, at least for this piece, should be simple, right? Like we could do this. We could just copy this whole thing and dump it in here. And we're going to deploy internet VPC. Internet. So what ranges did we use? 99 and 100. So let's make this 98. Okay, we'll leave all the same ranges, so the math, we don't have to worry about doing math. And then here, we're going to say is public. Ooh. This is going to cause a problem. I'll show you. Let's do it. TGW stack is this. The rest of this should all work. I know what's going to happen here. This means we're going to have to go back and change the condition, but I'll deploy this and we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's our new internet VPC. Can you think of what the problem with our internet VPC template is going to be? Okay, so there's our internet VPC. Let's go CloudFormation. There's our new VPC. Lots of resources to deploy, so we'll say next. This should really be the only change. And as long as we see it make past here, and then it's going to deploy all these. So that should work. Okay, so we'll leave that and let it run. Because now we can think about some of the other things we need. So let's shrink up IAM, CloudWatch, Transit Gateway, Internet VPC, Finance VPC, Marketing VPC. Okay, so now what we need to do is deploy the internet attachments. So we still have to associate the internet VPC with the transit gateway. But because we just have a single template for all this, we can just do this. Deploy internet. Right? That should be it. We'll do these in pieces. I want to make sure that our VPC is done, because if I try to deploy this now, what will happen is it'll fail, because it'll say, well, you want me to generate a change set on a CloudFormation stack that is in progress. So I have to wait for this to finish. Well, why don't we push our luck? No sense in watching paint dry. So there's internet gateway, our internet transit gateway attachment. And then we also have to go down here and add these, right? the propagations. So this is internet. Does it really require all of these? I guess it does, because we're referring to these other attachments, aren't we? Right, and then we can go over here, and we could just go copy all of this and dump it in here. Oh, damn it. This is really annoying. Okay. So that means in this case, we're updating. This is all going to be the same. And then we just copy this. Just like that. Okay. And I've already added everything here. So that's good. Let's flip over here and see. Okay, so our VPC is done, our internet VPC. So this is connected. It has an internet gateway connected to the outside world. So let me just redeploy our changes here, and then I'll pull up the pipeline. And see what havoc we can do here. Well, we made it past the validation phase. That's always good, right? Okay, transit gateway. There should be no changes here. Really what we're going to have is this, right? Is our new internet gateway, or sorry, our internet transit gateway attachment. And then I won't worry about these propagations. We'll just run this propagation and see if it works. Okay, there goes our new attachment. There it is. Okay, there's our route table. So we go over here. There's our internet transit gateway attachment. We now have the internet route table. Still working. Okay, there we go. That's create in progress. Okay, it's still going. Okay, so now it's associating to our VPC. And after that, okay, that's good. So great, right? Now it's interesting, we didn't get our propagation here. So something in our pipeline must have failed, or it's still working. Failed. Okay, what did we do wrong? Internet attachment stack must have values. Must be a typo here somewhere. Internet attachment stack. Oh, I didn't include it in the parameter overrides. That's helpful if you actually do this. Did you ever notice I'm waiting for the internet propagation one, and it's the last one to run? Never fails. Okay, let's see if it maybe is over here. There we go. So we're adding the different propagations. Right, so now our internet attachment knows how to get to the finance VPC. Okay, so there's all of our propagations added. There's all of our routes. Okay, so that means that probably if we go here, that's done. Now the thing is, if we go and we look, there's two things that we still need to fix. Both the marketing VPCs, the marketing and finance VPCs don't have propagations now to figure out how to get to our internet VPC, which is going to be important. So we need to modify the other propagations. So what we can do now is we can just simply go up here and add, oops, not like that, it's like this. Oh man, there. Okay, and then we can do oh, we already have that one there. Okay, and then we can just add this statement here. Oh. Right. Now we do need to change each of the marketing and the finance definitions because these are all unique now to make this work. But we could just go like this. Go to finance. And really all we got to do is switch that out. Oh, and we need to do this too, right? So that's finance. Do I have marketing here? I don't. Right, and then we'll go back over here, grab this. Do that. Okay, so that'll update the route propagations on our other VPCs. So let's deploy this. So the issue that we're going to have is the fact that if we go here and we go, got to refresh this, and we select our internet VPC, if we go to route tables, same issue that we had before, right? What we need now is, do I have my whiteboard still open? Because I don't. So what we have is, if we think about the individual VPCs, so these are our public subnets. I won't draw them both out, but you've got, oh, locked again. There we go. Okay. So we've got, well, let me show it like this, right? We've got these two public subnets, and in these public subnets, we have our NAT gateways, and that's how we're going to get to the internet. Let's make this a little bigger. All right, like that. So what we need is, this is the public subnet, which will have access to, this is the internet. So we have this happening, right? Whoops. Like that. I guess both directions, I guess, if we're going to be particular about it, like this. So then what I have is, I have another VPC over here. Let's say this is our marketing VPC. And between these, we have our transit gateway. Okay, so both of these things are now associated. Both of the VPCs are associated with the transit gateway. But what I need to do is, I need to get traffic from a private subnet here. Essentially what we have to do is make sure the routes right? We need routes that now go from here through the that's not gonna work at all, is it? Thought I had a highlighter here somewhere. Go away. Oh, there we go. So basically what I need is, I need a route to go from here through the transit gateway, through the public subnet to the internet and back. That's what we're missing. And the reason it's missing is, we need to see this. So right now we're saying everything goes to the internet gateway. from the public subnet. But what we need in here is routes to go from this subnet back to our marketing VPC as an example. So if we were to go, I'll show you what this will look like. If we were to go back to, I always lose here, our network manager. Okay, let's close some of these windows down. And we do that same test that we did before. And we go from the marketing VPC. Let's just make sure we know the range. So marketing is 10.100. So I think we did like 10.100.0.2. And you're going to go to the internet and you want to go to 8.8.8.8, right? Okay, see that? We don't know how to get there because what's happening is we're going from the source through this route table and we don't know how to get to 8.8.8.8. And it'll say right here, there's no matching route for the destination in the transit gateway route table, blah. So we can open this up. And this is the route table that's associated with our marketing attachment. Okay, so it's associated to our marketing VPC. It has, oh, okay, well this still won't work, but watch what will happen. Let's run the, these should have updates, right? Yeah. So let's run these two first. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Okay, so there we've got that. If we go back over here now and go to so now we have those three. So we know how to get to the marketing VPC, the finance VPC, and the internet VPC. So if we do this, did I lose this again? Here we go. See this? Even though we have the propagation to the internet VPC, we don't have anything that matches 8.8.8.8.8, whatever I said. So we can test this by going in here and we'll just add a static route for now. And we'll say, if you're trying to go anywhere, right, go to the internet VPC. Okay, so now we've got the ability to get to each of our VPCs, plus this any route says go talk to the internet VPC. And if we run this same thing again, we should see something slightly different here. We do not. I was expecting, okay, let me see here. There's no matching route table for the destination in this route table. Maybe I did the wrong one. Associations, propagations, routes. No, I added it there. Let's try it again. I've missed some. There we go. It just took a little while. So what this is now saying that it knows how to go from the marketing VPC through this route table to the internet VPC, okay, and back. So it has the route, but it at least knows how to go back and forth. The challenge here is that if I actually had an EC2 instance in the marketing VPC that we could get to, and I tried to ping 8.8.8.8, it actually wouldn't work. Okay, so let's leave this default route for the time being. We'll have to go back and we'll have to figure this piece out because how do we want to do this? It's probably better if we add that, right? Rather than doing a bunch of things at once and then forgetting about what we did. So let's delete this. All right. That'll clean that up. That way we don't get confused. And then what we need to do is we need to go and we need to figure out where it makes sense to add a static route to each of these route tables. So let's just go back and have a look at what we got, and it's frozen again. There we go. Okay. So the question then becomes, we've got an attachment and a route table association. This probably makes sense because what we want to do, yeah, see, we've made this challenging on our strategy here because we're using this same attachment template for each of our VPCs, right? So in theory, what we could do is we could add a static route here. And we could say like, and this is going to be right, just this here. So we can go transit gateway route, and we're going to go destination CIDR block is 0.0.0.0/0, right? So basically our anywhere route. And if you're trying to go anywhere, then we're going to send you to the transit gateway attachment that's associated to the internet VPC. Okay. But this isn't going to work because what happens here is at this point, if we go back over here, we would have to make sure oh wow, this is really making my head hurt tonight. We'd have to make sure that the transit gateway attachment for the internet exists before you deploy these. And the problem is that they're all using, again, the same attach templates. Oh boy. See what I mean? So I can't actually, first off, use this same attachment because I don't need the internet route in the internet VPC. Let me show you what I'm trying to figure out here. So we'll go back here. We're going to do this manually for now. So what I need is, did it delete this? It did delete this. So let's add these back. So we're going to create a static route, and we're going to say, if you're coming from the marketing environment and you're trying to go anywhere, right, go to the internet. So we'll do that. And then on this side, on the finance one, we need to do the same thing. So we're going to create a static route here. And we're going to say here, whoops, go to this, right? Okay, so that's fine. And then on the internet attachment, we already know how to get to all of the VPCs, so that's fine. But in the internet VPC, we don't know how to get to here. So what we need to do is in our VPC, in our route table, in the internet VPC, we need to actually modify our public route tables. And what we need to, in here is we need to say, if you're trying to get to 1099.0.0, what did we create? I think they're just /16s, aren't they? 99 and 100, both /16s. Okay, yeah. So if you do this, /16, go talk to the transit gateway, which is this. And then we would need 10.100.0.0/16, and we would also want to point that to the transit gateway. Okay. So now what this means is that if you're an EC2 instance within the marketing VPC and you're trying to get to Google DNS, you go from the VPC, from the marketing VPC to the transit gateway, to the internet VPC, through the NAT gateway to the public internet. And then the response coming back goes into the internet VPC via the NAT gateway, which is in a public subnet. And now that public subnet knows if you're trying to get to 10.100 dot whatever to go to the transit gateway, and then the transit gateway knows how to get to the actual EC2 instance that we originated this call from. The problem with this is we've got this nice little compact way to deploy all of this stuff, but because we're using the same template or trying to use the same template, you can see how there are slight differences, right, on how to do this. So I think it still makes sense to keep everything in those generic VPC templates, but we might end up in the same situation that we ended up with our propagations, where we need to create unique route table entries as well and have those deployed independently. The problem with this is we end up with, like, we've got a lot of stacks here already, right, that become challenging to manage. I'll tell you what, I'm going to call it a day here in a few minutes, but let's try something. Let's go to EC2. We'll do this manually. Actually, first let's go to IAM, and we're going to create a role that we can use with our EC2 instance. Okay, so we'll just go like this. We'll go EC2 service, be used with the, trust policy with our EC2 instance. And all we need to do here is say SSM, and we want to do manage core. And we'll just call this Twitch demo role, right? Okay, there we go. And now I can go over to EC2 and we can launch an EC2 instance, and we'll call this Twitch marketing EC2. None of this really matters, but we'll deploy an ARM processor. We'll use a T4G small instance. We won't worry about a login pair, key pair, and we want to make sure this goes into the right place. So we want to put it in the marketing VPC in a private subnet. We don't want it to have any IP addresses, so that's fine. Public IP. We are going to create a new security group. We'll just call it Twitch marketing SG. And we don't actually need any rules, so we'll leave it like that. We'll change to GP3. We'll use the latest generation, general purpose SSD. We need here to associate it to the role that we just created. And just for completeness sake, we're going to go to metadata version, change it to 2, and we'll put a really simple little user data script that says yum -y update. You run an update script the first time you launch, and then we'll set this up. Okay. So now this is actually a really simple test of yeah, exactly, right? So this is a really simple test because what's going to happen here is I've created an EC2 instance, and I want to I'm going to try to get access to this machine using SSM. Well, what we have here is EC2 deployed within a VPC, and SSM exists outside of a VPC. So if I can connect, if I let this guy come to life and I connect to it using SSM, then we know our routes work, because what's really happening is we're going from the marketing VPC through the transit gateway, through the internet VPC, through the internet gateway to SSM, because SSM exists on the public internet, right? It's not in a VPC, and then back. The chances of this working on the first shot, I don't know. I bet you somewhere we've got an error in our routes. Although when we did that simple route test, it did say that we knew how to get from, I'm pretty sure we tested it in the marketing VPC. So we could go from the marketing VPC out to 8.8.8.8, right? We had a route to get there. And then we had the return route. So in theory, it may work. Okay, 2 of 2 checks passed. We'll know pretty quickly. Connect. See how it's saying connect here? Just spinning. Yeah, so we've missed something. Okay, let's do a really quick check of this, and then we'll call it a day. And I'll try to make more sense of this for next week. See if we can finish it next week. So let's just check all of the routes. So this EC2 instance is deployed where? In this subnet, okay? So this subnet route table says if you're trying to go anywhere, go to the internet gateway. Okay, so that seems logical. What we could actually do now, let's do this. Since we're in the marketing VPC, let's go back to our EC2, and we'll also open up, we'll do one more test here. We have an IP address, right? There's its IP. We'll go VPC. We're going to use our little network checker again. We'll go down to network manager. Started. Too many windows open. Go into our global network, transit gateway, route analyzer. From our marketing, right, to the internet, 8.8.8.8. See what this does. Okay, it's connected. It at least has a route. So then that means, what have we missed here? Usually if this is here, it's a pretty good indication that you have the proper route. So I should be able to go from here to here. So I'm a little shocked that when we went over here, it gave us this. This should really just come right to life. So our security group allows all outbound traffic, no inbound traffic. And because it's stateful, that means, we're initiating a connection to SSM, therefore SSM can come back in because it's a stateful firewall. We're in a private subnet, which has a route to the transit gateway. Oh, another thing we could check? We did turn on, we go over here, transit gateway, flow logs. Okay, so these are the attachments. So we need to know which attachment we're coming from. So we're originating from this attachment, the marketing attachment, which is 500. Do we have a 500 here? We do. Okay. And we know we're coming from where is its network? 10100. I've never seen these before. So there's that 10100 going to 52. Okay, so I would assume that means it knows how to get through. And then if we go over here, our internet transit gateway attachment ends in what? 34001. 34001. Lots of traffic. 1012 into ingress. So we've got egress traffic going to Amazon, going to S3. So I just wanted to see if anything. This is all egress traffic, right? So far. I'm just quickly looking here. You know what we could do? We could do log insights. We could select this and run a query. Right. The question is, what fields are here for us to look at? It's definitely pushing traffic through, right? We've got a bunch of traffic here now. I just don't know what these field maps are, because I know in the original transit gate, or the oh, what's it called? Hey, future. Yeah, it does. We checked that. So if I go over here, Twitch demo role, all I did here was just add SSM managed instant core, which should let us do what we need with SSM. So yeah, that should work. I wonder, like in the VPC flow logs, I can do filter source. Yeah, see, it doesn't. I was looking for like source address or something. I'd have to look at this. And there's no address info. We'd have to look at sort of the details of this. But look this, VPC 8623A, DDA0A, or DDA01. Why does it do that every once in a while? Just randomly change your region on you. So the DDA01 is internet, and 8623A is our marketing VPC. So yeah, inbound 443. Well, no, I don't think I'll need inbound because we're initiating the connection. Normally I don't do that with the security groups. We could try it. It's worth a shot. Right? Because let's do this. We'll do the old anywhere. I wonder future, like you said, because it's multiple layers deep or something. I don't know. I did this a demo with Systems Manager earlier today and didn't have any rules and it worked okay. Yeah. There's something else going on here. Let's check our internet VPC again. So we've got route tables here that say how to get to 99 and how to get to 0. And we put those there because the traffic is flowing do we need them in the private subnets as well? Because the private subnets are where, yeah, you know what, we might, because the private subnet knows to get to the NAT gateway, but it doesn't know how to get back to, let's just add them to test it. So let's do this. Route tables, maybe we're just missing it, this. So we'll do the same thing. So 10.99.00/16 goes to our trusty transit gateway, and so does 10.100. Right? You know what else, maybe? Look at what I did. When I did this, okay, so I'm going to do this step by step. See what I did? In the public subnets, I put it on one of the AZs, but not the other one. So let's remove this route table. Not remove the route table, but remove the rule. I keep saying my brain's frazzled. Remove the routes to those two guys, just to keep it all the same. So actually go like this, right? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that in both the public route tables, I have 99 and 100. So let's go like this. Maybe this is what I missed. I don't know where we put that 1090. Oh, sorry, I don't need this. This should actually be 99. And this should be 10.100 because 98 is our local network. Okay. And then what we're going to do over here, I have seen this in the past that the transit gateway, not the transit gateway, sorry, the SSM agent just gives up after a while. So we're just going to reboot this guy. We'll go one step at a time and see what happens. And I'm just going to do, I'm going to edit this back to the way it was, just so that it's exactly where it was when we started. And then we'll see what happens. Give this a second to come to life. Hey! Woohoo! So, moral of the story. Make sure that you update the route tables in both of your AZs. We learned something today, so we can connect. Oh, hang on. My trackpad is going to die any moment. And I need to unplug something. I bought myself I think it was actually Kevin, I think it was Jeff that suggested an Anchor USB thing with a whole bunch of charge ports in it, which I bought and has been great until I've run out of, I've got a bunch of Raspberry Pis sitting on my desk that I've been fiddling around with, and it makes perfect sense to chew up all the ports on my Raspberry Pi. Oh, sorry, this froze again. Here, hold on. I'll show you what I'm looking at now. Right? We've used SSM. Okay, so I'm just gonna unplug this. I might have just knocked one of my Raspberry Pis off. All right, so in theory now, this should also work. Perfect. So we're going from our marketing EC2 instance in a private subnet in the marketing VPC through the transit gateway, through the internet VPC, through a NAT gateway, and then out to the outside world and back. There we go. Now, we didn't do it all as code, so we'll have to go back, and this will be the thing. We'll have to go back and figure out how best to approach the route table pieces, right? So this should do everything that we want now. and it makes sense that this didn't run, even though I put it in the, what's it called? The metadata, not the metadata, the bootstrap script, because SSM couldn't actually, not SSM, sorry, but when the machine came to life and we ran our user data script, it wouldn't have had the ability to go out and connect. And a user data script runs by default only the first time the machine comes to life. So this works. That's great. Okay. Outside of the fact that we've just got to wrap our heads around some of the other route table code. But there you go. So what we've created now is all of our internet traffic is flowing through a centralized VPC. And instead of having, in our example, like 2 ingress egress points, one for the marketing VPC, one for our finance VPC, each of those having their own internet gateways and their own NAC gateways and everything, which are going to drive our costs up. Now we've just got it all centralized. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay. I think we've been going for over 2 hours now. I'm going to go and call it a night here. We'll be back next week to finish this up. And I'm hoping that maybe next week we can try deploying the network firewall, right? And use that as sort of a centralized firewall for all of our traffic as well, just to see how it works. Yeah, right. And the NAT gateways we're paying by the hour future plus the data transfer that goes through them. So why have 4 NAT gateways when we can have 2? And like you said, they're going to be able to burst to handle a lot of the traffic, more than we would ever be able to throw at it in here, right? So save the cache. So awesome. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll chat soon. Bye for now.